I can't drink wine when I take pictures for wine brands. I'm not allowed to like be actually drinking in the picture. I can like hold the glass, but I'm not allowed to actually like be drinking it. Yeah.
Wow, you're the big timer. Do you do a lot of sponsored stuff?
Yeah, not that much. I mean, that's I'm the only one with a job in my family. That's our income. Because my husband goes to school now.
Oh, that's right.
He's getting his master's, so he can't work. So I'm the breadwinner.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's start out with just saying like a
Quick background, like your name, what you do, and just kind of sum up.
Introduction.
Yeah, just a quick introduction.
So I'm Eileen, and I'm from France, as you can hear. And I'm the mother of 2 boys, Charlie and Jude. Charlie is 6.5, and Jude is 4. Charlie is severely autistic and nonverbal. And Jude is neurotypical. And I'm myself on the autism spectrum, which I learned when I was an adult. And it's been a big revelation to me, and I wrote a book about it called All Across the Spectrum.
And did you want to talk about you're writing another book, right?
Yeah, I am.
Is that known?
It's not out. I mean, I talk about it. It's not out, but...
If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to.
No, we can talk about it.
Okay.
It's great. Yeah, this other book I'm writing is more about, just going after your dream, even if everyone is telling you that it's stupid or that you're gonna fail, still go after it. If it makes you happy, like, do it. And same with failures. I've had so many failures in my life, and at first I used to be like so down and feel so hard on myself. And after a while I realized that I had something that most people didn't have, is that I kept trying after I failed. And after a while, like, you just might succeed if you keep trying, It's not about the number of times you fail, it's whether you give up or you keep trying. And so my book is more of like an encouragement to people who feel like self-conscious and who just want to chase after their dreams, but who are too afraid to do so, I guess. And, kind of give people self-confidence.
No, I love it. I'm excited for this book. Where are you at in the process?
I wrote half of it, but I haven't like pitched it to any like publisher or anyone. So I'm just like, I want to, like with my first book, I wrote a book proposal and then 2 sample chapters and then started sending it out. And for this one, I want to do it differently, and I want to write the entire book and then go to publisher and be like, this is my book, what do you think? Do you want it or do you? No. I want to write the entire thing before I actually like pitch it to people.
Why the change?
I don't know. I just like really want, because I feel like I want people to see it's different, because with my first book was really like more about my life, and this one is like different. So I want people to see the entire thing so they can feel like inspired, I guess, at the end. Yeah.
Interesting. And when did the thought of this next book, like what was the turning of like, because you had your first one, how long has that been out?
6 months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been working on the second one for a long time now. Every time I have like a failure or something, like a setback in life, I just like start writing. That's my way to cope. And so that's kind of what my second book is about, because every time I feel bad, I write. And this book is just going to be a series of like short essays about, failure, but not only that. And so it's like texts that I've written throughout the years, after failing, that keep me going.
That's awesome. What kind of a kid were you growing up?
Like when I was really young?
Yeah, like 0 to like 12. Like
yeah. I mean, it's the age where you're still learning a lot, and you feel things, but you don't necessarily understand why you're feeling them. Like, I felt different, but I didn't know why. Like, I knew I had different interests from the other kids. Like, I really liked to read, and other kids were like all about like games. And I like games too, and I didn't necessarily enjoy like playing with other kids the same way. Like, I was totally fine like reading books for hours on end. And a lot of the kids picked on me because I didn't have a good sense of style. First of all, I always wore like basically sweatsuits. I wanted to look like my favorite soccer players. So that's why I did it. I didn't think about, well, girls should be wearing like, maybe jeans or girly clothes. It was comfortable. That's all I cared about. And so that got me picked on a lot. And throughout the years, it just evolved to like straight up bullying. And that was like really painful. And after a while, I just kind of rebelled, I guess, against authority and everyone because I was trying to fit in. And I noticed that the people who were kind of mean to teachers were the ones that had the most friends. It's like people looked up to them for some reason. And so I tried to be someone I wasn't, and I tried like talking back to teachers to like fit in. I was forcing myself to be someone I wasn't, and it just didn't feel good.
And so this is you were in France, and your mom. What was the relationship with like your parents?
Well, my parents got divorced when I was 10, and I didn't see my dad for a while. He got with a new girlfriend, and it was kind of like the divorce was really hard on me. I think that didn't help. But with my mom, she had been used to me having good grades, like without even trying, like throughout until I was like 13, I want to say. I didn't have to do anything. I would just get it, right away. And after a while, I stopped getting it, and that's when my mom really got upset with me. She didn't really, I don't want to say she didn't care about the rest, but what mattered to her were the grades. You gotta do good at school. And to me, I was like, but I stopped enjoying it, I wasn't learning, I didn't like it. And when I'm not interested in something, I don't want to work on it, like I don't want to learn. And so I think that was really hard on my mom to see me like get average grades. And yeah, she supported me a lot though throughout, she liked to see me get out of my shell and get a little upset with teachers who were not nice to me because I was always the like shy girls who like looked down. And so yeah, I had a few good moments when I kind of showed teachers that I had my own thought, and she supported that. Yeah. Were
you always a creative person? Because like I look now and like your photography is really great, and you write, and the first book's really incredible. And like I've messaged you so many times and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so incredible to hear your stories, and it's easy. I enjoy the reading. It feels very natural, and like we talked, like very vulnerable, and I can connect with a lot of those things. And so was that something that you always had? Did your parents see it and like foster it, or?
The writing, yeah. That's really the only way I'm creative. Well, now photography too, but I've never been the creative kid, like, drawing and all of that. I'm so terrible at it. But writing, first of all, I learned to read and write like early. I think that was part of my autism diagnosis, like 3, which is called hyperlexia. The learning to read and write by age 3 or like very early. And so it's always something that's been in me, and it's always been my way of copying. And at school, I would write these creative stories, and that was like the one thing all teachers agreed on, like my writing was good. But that's really the only way I'm creative, really. I wouldn't call myself a creative person except for writing and now photography, yeah.
But, okay, so I don't know about that. Because like, what about when you have sponsors that you come up with the ideas for those things, right? They're not like, here, do this thing.
That's true. I mean, they kind of guide you, but yeah. But that's still part of the photography. And sometimes I've started to really, I think I have a lot more, I feel self-confident, self-conscious about my photography because it's very new for me. It's something I've learned by myself like 3-4 years ago. So to me, it's, I'm not totally confident in it. And I've really been sticking to things that I know until, I would say 6 months ago, where I've been trying to be like, okay, I can let my creative side, the writing, go into my photography. But that's pretty new to me.
That's interesting. I feel like we're not acknowledging the amazing creativity of human beings. And I say that like, I know that you're not acknowledging how like me and a lot of other people looking and viewing your stuff see what you don't see.
Yeah, well, I think that's true for a lot of people, like, because we're so much harder on ourselves than other people will be, and so maybe I think we tend to compare ourselves a lot to other people too. So like, I see other people on like Instagram, because I spend a lot of time on Instagram, and I see their pictures and I'm like, okay, that is insanely creative, you know? And so then I look at my stuff and I'm like, yeah, my pictures are good, but like, I'm not like as creative as these people, and I think that's why maybe I'm saying that right now. But you know, it shows that I don't have the self-confidence that I might appear to have through my pictures or writing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can connect with that, and I think a lot of people will hear this and go, what? She feels that way too? That's how I feel, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I think is great about the authenticity and sharing about yourself. So you didn't always identify as creative, but did you identify as a small business owner? And I would say entrepreneur, but I think there's a lot of baggage behind that. So just kind of running your own, you know, freelance and being the boss. Did you identify as? Yeah,
for sure. Like, I've always known that I wanted to do my own thing. Like, I didn't want to get a job I wouldn't like, because I know that if I do something I don't like, I'm gonna be so unhappy, and I just can't do that. And I know it's true for a lot of people, and I just tried for so many years to find something that would allow me to do something I love and also allow me to get money. And it's hard, and I know it's not possible for everyone, but I also feel like if you keep trying, it might happen. And that's why I kept trying, because I really wanted to be my own boss and be, like you said, a small business owner. I guess what I wanted, and I never gave up, and I guess, yeah, I am now.
So did you, how did that factor into schooling, like after graduating? And
I had so many years of like, my parents were like, my mom was like, you gotta go through like law school, you would be such a good like lawyer and stuff. I'm like, I don't know what I wanted to. I'm like, sure, I'll try, but no, I failed one year, and then I tried a school of English. I was in France, right? English school the next year, and I failed that too, because what am I gonna do? Like, yeah, I wanted to learn English, but what kind of degree is that, you know, to learn English? What job am I gonna get out of that? Not only that, but just going to school itself was like so overwhelming for me. I couldn't be in a setting with all of these people, and it's just not how I learn. Like, I don't learn by having a teacher in front of me telling me stuff. Like, I need to learn by experience, and I think it's really hard for my parents to just realize that I wasn't gonna follow a mainstream path. Like, I wasn't gonna go to school, get a degree, get a job, 9-to-5 job. That's not what I wanted. Yeah, so I did it.
So you said like that feeling, when did you like first identify like going to school and just realizing like I'll do this to appease my parents, but you knew that your path was outside of school? I
think I've known since I was very little, but really like for sure like after high school. Yeah, like 16, but it's a feeling I've always had. But like I said, when you're younger, it's like you have these feelings, but it's hard to like understand. But like after high school, I really knew like I'm not doing this. And you know, I feel like a lot of kids might feel this way, and some of them is just because like we've been in school for so long by that time. But to me, it was different. It wasn't just that I don't want to go to school. I mean, sure, that was part of it, but it's like I felt it that it just wasn't for me. Like, and I still got a degree, but I got it online just because I still wanted to do something after high school and have like a backup plan just in case, you know. I don't want to be like completely careless about it. But
what was your degree?
I did English and history.
Okay.
So that was through a French university in 2013. So, and that's a French degree equivalent of a bachelor degree.
Okay.
It doesn't give me anything really, you know. It's just the one thing I was like a little bit interested in, English, and I wanted a degree, so I did that. It was like the least invasive.
So you've also talked in your book you talked about this too. Always, the French culture isn't open or accepting to like mental health, and they weren't acknowledging it. And you always wanted to come to the States. And part of the things that I'm interested in doing these interviews is to just understand and to expose people to the years leading up to the decision. Like, you were here now, but there was a lot of decisions you had to make along the way to be able to get here. And kind of talk us through that path of when did you recognize, you had said like France is kind of failing you, it's not a place that you wanted to be and you wanted to go there, and some of the decisions that kind of came up along the way.
Well, so I've always been fascinated with the United States as a kid, but like I didn't know I absolutely wanted to, I want to say move, but at least visit the United States until same after high school. It was like really the years after high school were really hard and eye-opening on me. I think, it's the age where you're becoming mature enough to understand that your parents don't necessarily know everything. I always thought my parents are like, if my mom says something, she is right. And I started making my own decision and my own thinking, and I was like, United States just looks so cool. France hasn't given me any of what I want, anything, except the good food, but that wasn't gonna get me anywhere in life. So anyway, I just started working towards my goal of moving to the United States. Like in France, I used to see a therapist because I had all these issues that I wasn't understanding, but I would put a hood on my head because I know that if people would see me enter the building, they would make so much fun of me. Like, people get bullied for anything in France, and mental health is such a taboo topic. Like, only crazy people see a therapist, basically, is the idea.
Has that changed? I know that there's been a huge change in the US. That was a similar thing. Me growing up, it was always like, oh, that's for people that have issues, like mental, crazy people go to the therapist, not normal people. But that's completely changed over the last several years.
No, I haven't been there in like 9 years, but I still have friends on Facebook and all of that. And I follow, news, Facebook page, and I write pages and I read the comments, and I don't think so. And I know about autism, which is a bit different. It's disability, but first of all, it's not diagnosed as much, just because they only diagnose people who are like very severe. Which, in the US, I think we might be a bit on the other side, where we diagnose like a lot of people. I think there's a balance, but in any case, so a lot of people fly under the radar in France for like autism, and there's no help. No help. Like, people think that France is so good when it comes to like healthcare and all of that, but if I was living in France with my son right now, I wouldn't get help. Or he would, but I would have to pay like thousands and thousands of dollars because insurance wouldn't cover the therapy, and there are only like a few therapy centers in France that do ABA therapy, where here you would get like 20 in a big city,
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it's a good perspective, because a lot of times we're like, France has, healthcare, and Canada has this, and England, and all these other places have medical offerings, but
it's really not as good as it seems.
Yeah, it's the breadth of what it's able to cover is, I never even thought about that case. Is like it probably has a lot for many things, but these,
right, exactly, yeah.
Not one-off, but less popular, and I guess it comes back to the social viewpoint of the place you're living, but yeah, that's very intriguing. I had another question. So, how old were you when you first had the idea of, I think that's really what I want to do, is go to France and then, or move to the States and then actually doing it? What was
doing it, like when I really started working towards it, I think I was 19, and actually that was such a sad story. I was like the only way I'm gonna do this, because getting a visa to come to the United States is so hard. So the only way was to be an au pair. And so I found a website and I matched with a family, and I was so happy. I was 19 back then. And it
So
turned
when
out.
you said au pair when we talked the first time, I didn't know what it was. I had to
Really?
go look. Yeah, you said au pair. I'm like,
A nanny?
yeah,
Yeah, it's like being a nanny. It's funny, I thought that was like such a common word.
au pair.
Au pair. But so that was the only way, and I was like, okay, I'll go and I'll Google it and I'll find a website, and I did, and I matched with this family in Chicago. For me, it was like, oh, Chicago Bulls, it's like stars in my eyes, and I was so happy. They sent me pictures. They had the perfect like American family. It was so amazing for me. And then they asked me to send money for my flight tickets and stuff, and I did through Western Union. And a few days later, I realized that I had been scammed when they asked me to send more money because someone had a motorcycle accident and they lost the money and all of that. And I realized that was a scam. And so I got like so sad, and I was so upset because my dad had actually helped me out financially because I didn't have a job back then with that. And yeah, well, of course I didn't, not only I was out the money, but I couldn't live to go there. So that was sad. And I was 19 then. So I gave up for 2 years, and I was like, I'm going to do this, because then I told you I went to that English school again to try and do something mainstream in the meantime, which failed. And then I did it through an official website where I had to go do an interview in Paris, and it was really legit. I just wanted to be completely sure, and it worked out.
So there was the initial thing, you tried something, didn't work out, and then you went go to school, and then you just kept making decisions and researching, Googling, and figuring things out.
Yeah, I think after I got scammed the first time, it kind of put a stop to I was like, okay, maybe that was very impulsive of me, and I started second guessing myself. So that's why I was like, okay, I'll try one more year doing something very mainstream. But it took me 1 month of trying the school thing to realize, nope, not what I want to do. So then again, I started searching for a more official way to do that au pair nanny thing. And that's why it worked out.
I think it's important to highlight. Is I think even you probably look back and just I just made decisions, but the reason I started talking to people is that we take for granted the fact that you take action. People they want to change, but then they are stuck. I'm stuck in a rut. And so by highlighting that part of saying it took years of having the idea, letting it fester, trying something, failing, and then trying to, then being maybe that wasn't right, second guessing it, trying something else and going, no, back to, it's a messy process. And I think we, with the Instagram and Facebook and the modern life that we have of seeing people, we see the results of people and think we want it, and we take for granted the years of preparation that go into it. So that's what I wanted to pull all that out. I wanted the same thing with, you had something to say?
No, that's, hearing you say it makes so much sense, yeah. I think people expect it to be, okay, I'll make the decision, I do it. This very linear process, but really it's up, down, up, down.
Yeah.
And people succeed if after they get down, they try again. I think that's the difference between people who manage to do it and those who don't. You keep trying.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's have you read I think it's Poke the Box, Seth Godin? He's a really good author, but he talked about he made the statement, actually is in my first magazine, I'll show it after, but he said his statement was, if I win, or if I fail more than you, I'll win. And he said inside of that is that if I fail more than you, it means that I get to keep trying, and the more I try, the more I refine my ability to succeed. And he said the people that fail are the ones who go too big and can't continue playing the game, or that never try at all, and they get stuck. And so it's really, like you said, it's just like, you just gotta have relentlessness, like continuing on.
Stubborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that brings to the book, because when I first kind of connected with you, I saw your photography and I was like, oh, like that's really good. And then you're like, oh yeah, and I published a book, and I'm like, okay, like I know, like even to do self-publish, like I know what it took for me to be able to do that. So I know, you said it so nonchalant, like, yeah, I just did this thing. And that's what we do, like yeah, we did this thing. But there's so many decisions that have to go in to that. So walk me through, like, deciding, when did the idea happen, like, oh, I think I should write this book, and the process for that.
Well, I guess I've always wanted to write a book since I was a kid, but I never knew what I would write about. So first of all, it's really a dream that's been in me forever, like for real, like my childhood dream. But I really started working on this specific book after Charlie got diagnosed with autism. I started writing. That's when I started my blog, because I had so many feelings, and I'm not a very good speaker, I guess. And I had no one to talk to anyway, so I started writing. And then I shared that on a Facebook page. And it got so many likes and shares, and I started seeing that people really liked and connected with my vulnerability and honesty. They like that because it makes them feel like they're not alone. And because people don't like sharing these feelings that feel uncomfortable, and I do it. And it makes them connect with me. And I felt like I had a story to share between my own diagnosis that happened just after Charlie's and his diagnosis, and telling parents that they're not alone in their feelings, even if they don't see a lot of people talking about these things, like what they're feeling. Pretty much everyone is feeling that way if they have a child on the spectrum, but parents in general. And so I started writing. Like I literally sat on my computer, it was like, book. I just wrote a Google Doc and I called it like book, I think, or something like that. And I started writing. And then I started looking up how to get a book published. And I saw that you need a book proposal. So I looked up formatting for a book proposal and everything that had to go into it. And I started writing a book proposal, just like that. Like, honestly, that was like within the same months. And then I was like, okay, I have my book proposal, what do? I Googled it again. It's like, you gotta send your book proposal to literary agents. And these literary agents, if they accept your book proposal, are going to find you a publisher. And I sent so many, I'm not kidding, like 40, 50, and I got either a no. And it's not a no that tells you no because this and that, it's a form letter. So it's a rejection, like that they send to everyone, It's not personalized, so you don't get any feedback. I got like no with feedback from 2 people. But I never gave up. And then my manager, through my management agency for my blog, pitched me to a publisher, like straight to the publisher. And they loved it. And they were like, you know what? We also love your photography. How do you feel about including the photography in your book? So that wasn't my idea, but I loved the idea and I rolled with it, and I think it came out awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thanks.
But that 40, kind of, I wanna hover on that for a second. What was the time frame of when you were like, you wrote the first 2 chapters, you said, figured out how to do the proposal, and then you started sending those out. What did that look like, and what was that? Is that emailing? Is that letters?
Yeah, it's email. I mean, you can do snail mail, as they call it, but all of the one I sent were through email. So it's not even the book proposal. First, you have to send a query letter, and same, it's very specific. So it's just a 1-page letter, and then you wait for the literary agent to say, okay, I'm interested, send me your proposal. So you don't even get to send your book proposal. It's very frowned upon if you just send a book proposal without the literary agent asking. So you send a query letter, and then you wait for them to say, I'm interested, send me the proposal. But all of these people said no, and that was throughout, I would say, a little under 6 months. So it doesn't seem like a long time, but I can tell you that when like you want something and you're working on it and you're sending that, and all of the time was just spent like refreshing my emails, waiting for an email to pop that would say, yes, send me your book proposal. And like I said, I got 2 of these, yes, send me your book proposal, and then they read it and they said no, and it's just like so crushing, but I never gave up and it worked out.
I love that ending. I never gave up and it worked out.
Basically.
Oh man, I think that's really powerful, because like that 6 months, I'm sure when you're in it, it feels like forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like you're saying, like it's constantly. And were you still writing it at that point? Because you had the 2.
Yeah, I only had 2 chapters, so I was still like writing on it. But you know, when you keep getting those, I was honestly like losing interest. I mean, not interest, but like confidence in it. So my writing, like really, I think I started like chapter 3 and 4, the draft. Because yeah, at first it was a chapter book. I mean, you read the book, now it's not a chapter book anymore. Like I changed that last minute, the format of the books. Same, like it was always like thinking, you know. I never let the first idea I had be, that's the book I want. Like I was very open to people that were in my life, like their feeling about the book and how I felt about it. And actually the night before I was supposed to send my final manuscript, that was after I had the publisher, I was like, I talked to my manager, I was like, you know what, I know this is crazy, but I want to change the entire format of the book. I need another month. And she's like, you're right, that's crazy, but I agree. And so she talked to the publisher, and the publisher was like, yeah, we kind of like that too, actually. Let's do 50 anecdotes instead of 10 chapters. And so I broke down the book in 50 anecdotes. And it used to be a 10 chapter book.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really like your approach. It's like mini stories, and you get to see this like it's really well done.
That was exactly the idea of why I wanted to do that. I was like, you know, I don't have time to read a book like start to finish as a mom, and like with this, just like you said, you can like put it away, pick it up, and you don't feel like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't take the whole book to get to like that big message that you wanted to get across. It's like, because that's how life is. I think it's like these lessons you learned, and there's impactful things inside of them, and it's been really the one that was the most is the one I texted you about, and I loved how you finished it all off with the coach gave you this jacket, and then I can't remember the line, but it was so powerful. It hit me, and I was just like, oh, I was like,
There's always
I had confidence like that there was kindness. Or something like, what was it?
Yeah, kindness like will always win. Yeah, there's always a winning moment, a learning moment, and kindness will always win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you had this people that were just extremely like horribly rude, and I couldn't even believe it. Like that's why I was texting you. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe
it was awful, yeah.
the bravery that you have to just like who you are. And then yeah, to have it end back up with like, in those hardest moments, like you had this someone reach out and show true kindness and humility and pull you back to like that. To me is like humanity, is like that kind-hearted piece. And I just, yeah, there's all these stories about it. I love that. Here's an interesting one. Sorry, I'll have a few more. At what point, so you have the blog, which has a lot of followers, you have the book that's come out, your photography is incredible. Like, at what point in this journey did you start going, did you feel successful?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think when I started being able to provide for my family with my words and photography, when brands started reaching out to me, like wanting to work with me, I was like, oh, like you want to work with me? Like Eileen Lamb from France? Like I was just like, I felt so humble, I guess, like flattered. I felt so flattered because I think at that point I didn't believe in myself that much. Like I knew what I wanted, but I didn't realize that people felt it like that much, and that what I was doing was that good. I don't like saying it like that, but basically. And I think that's when I started realizing that, wait, did I make it? Am I actually like living my dream right now? And I don't even, because it's not like, you want to be an actor and you get a job and that's it. And it's not like that, because it was such a slow process that, there wasn't like one exact moment. But I think, when brands started reaching out to me and people kept messaging me to tell me, wow, I was feeling so bad, and then I read your words and you pulled me out of my dark hole, and like thanks to you, like I feel like I can smile again, and thank you so much for opening up your heart, because no one talks about these things, and I thought I was crazy, like with grieving after an autism diagnosis. Like these are hard subjects that people don't like to talk about, and I talk about it, and I get a lot of hate for it, but it's so important because there are so many people who feel like they're alone in their feelings when they're not. It's just that other people are so afraid to talk about it that it ends up making everyone around them feeling alone. And so when I realized that my words were helping other people, I think, that was probably the biggest moment, actually.
And so how far in? So you started your blog and were doing social media. Like how?
A year, I think. After like at first it was just like a Facebook page. I didn't even have a website. And about a year in, like when I started getting followers and I kept getting more messages, and I started the blog. So I'd say as soon as I started the actual blog, the website. So about a year, a little less than a year, yeah.
Wow, that seems fast.
Yeah, when you look at it like that. But to me, I was like, well, I've been working on it for 6 years, right?
Yeah. Okay. This one I actually really like. Not that I didn't like the other questions, but this is one that I think when it comes to like living intentionally, it comes down to like habit forming. And so this one is, what are some habits that helped you become successful? And then what are habits that you had to learn?
That's a good one. The habit that I already had, I think, was just like to never give up and always look for the positive even in the negative. That's something that my mom taught me, and I thought that was pretty tough growing up, honestly. I was like, you know what, it's bad right now, but you gotta find a positive out of the situation. And so I think that's what helped me in my failures, first of all. Like, because when you fail, there's always something you can learn from it, which makes it less likely that you will fail the next time. And I think that really helped me to like look for the positive. That, and to never give up. My mom always said in French, quand on veut, on peut, which means when there is a will, there is a way. And I think that's something that I've really, my mom really helped me with that. Like it's something that's just like in me. When there is a will, there is a way. And that's the best habit I've had in my life. And something that I've learned is that I need to be more, like I need to set up time with my time, to be more intentional with my time and what I do. Because it's very easy when you don't have someone telling you, hey, sit down from 2 to 3 and do this, to like just go and do something else. And sometimes if I don't feel, because when I write, it's like a lot of like feeling. And sometimes I just don't feel. It's hard for me to like sit down at the computer and still try and write. And I had to do a lot of like forcing myself to actually sit down to get words out. Or before I was like really in the extreme of you only write if you're feeling it, but sometimes you're gonna start feeling it as you start writing. So I have drafts on my computer that look like nothing, like just, piece of my mind, and it doesn't really make sense. And then I go back to them the next day and I clean them up a bit and it starts making a bit more sense. And that's how I start writing. Like it starts with like really writing whatever is in my mind. And that's like really something that I've learned. Not something that was natural.
Have you read The War of Art?
Nope.
No.
What is it?
Next time I come up, I'll actually bring you a copy. But it's a really, really, really good book, and he tells his story of, he's a writer, Stephen Pressfield, and he wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance and screenplays, but he talks about his whole journey. But one of the things that triggered was he he's talking about other. So he's a writer, author, and it was a quote, and I can't remember the name of the actual author that it came from, but he said, "I only write when I'm inspired, and I'm inspired every morning at 8 a.m." And he was basically talking about exactly what you're saying is turning. He talks about turning pro, like going from amateur to a professional, and one of the key things is not if you know that that's what you write when in the feeling, that when you get in the habit of getting up every morning and writing, at 8 a.m., then you can create that feeling by being consistent over time, kind of thing. And that's what it made me think of, is like, he said, I only write when I'm inspired, and I'm inspired every morning at 8 a.m. Just having the habits, like being so open, creating really cool structure in your life to allow moments to be inspired. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel inspired right now.
That was great. That was really, really good. So I have two last things, and then we'll wrap up. So let's say that you go in your room, it's all white, and sitting in a chair is 18-year-old you, and you get just a moment to be able to talk with them and help them. What would you tell 18-year-old you?
I would tell myself that I can't listen to I can't care that much about what people are thinking about me, because they don't necessarily get it, and what matters is how I feel about myself. Like, so much of how I felt about myself at 18 was dependent on how people saw me, and I wasn't fitting in any of the cases they wanted to fit me in, so they didn't see me as anything like really cool, and so I didn't see myself as cool. And so I would tell myself, just like, don't worry about fitting in, do what makes you happy, and never give up. And I think I must have had that talk with myself, because I did it. Yeah.
I got goosebumps from that. That was really good. Oh my gosh. You've kind of talked about this a little bit, but just in kind of like final, you can give your final thoughts, but also I'm curious, what really drives you and inspires you in life, and kind of like your guiding principles, that core piece. So you've talked about it a little bit here, but kind of final thoughts, and then like guiding principles and core things that drive you.
I think the main thing is that I feel like we live in a world where people are so afraid of feelings and emotions, and it makes everyone feel lonely. And I felt so lonely because of it as a kid. Still do sometimes, because I feel like people don't open up about their real feelings, and it makes everyone else feel like they're crazy, or that what they're feeling is not normal or is not okay. And so I really want to open up about all the weird and uncomfortable, I don't like the word weird, but like what might seem unusual feelings and vulnerable that we might be experiencing, just so everyone else that are experiencing these feelings can feel that they're not alone in what they're feeling. And that's really what drives me to share my stories. And every time I share something that's vulnerable, I'm so anxious, because I'm afraid people are gonna be like, maybe they're gonna see it and feel it, but they're gonna be so afraid to like double tap to like it, because they don't want like other people to see that they like something that said that, or they're not gonna comment, and all of the time it happens that I get like private messages. They're like, hey, I didn't want to say something, comment publicly, but I really love that. And I really appreciate people messaging me, but at the same time I'm like, yeah, but that shows that there is a problem somewhere if you feel so bad about like expressing what you're feeling. Like, I get it's vulnerable, but we need that, we need more vulnerable, I can't say that word.
Vulnerability?
We need more that in the word, and honesty.
Yeah. All right, anything else you wanted to say? That's beautiful, that's wonderful.
How'd you say vulnerability?
Vulnerability?
Yeah, we need more vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need.
I agree. I think that's a really interesting piece that I hadn't thought about, is the vulnerability. It goes, I say a lot of times of uncomfortable. And I think it's really the heart of it is kind of the same thing. It's like if you're not uncomfortable, there's a quote. I was remembering, what is it? Your comfort line ends or learning begins where your comfort line ends. And so if you're not uncomfortable, then you're really not pushing yourself to do anything outside of your anything new and like really learn.
I love it so much.
Yeah. So that's that vulnerability is that we forget. We like I was saying, when you're a kid, you don't have a complex of like, if I can't crawl, then like you just are trying to do this thing. It's not until you get older and start speaking and you get this social impact. But as a human, that's learned, right? But the truth is, it's that discomfort, that vulnerability, that when you're in that space, that's when you're learning. That's when you're finding something new.
Totally. And that's why I keep trying always, because every time I fail, I know that I don't really fail because I've tried, and that in itself is like so much more than most people do. You're just trying and getting out there. And also I think something important that I've been writing about actually is that just because you failed at something doesn't mean that the next time, even if it's the exact same thing, you're gonna fail at it again. You know, like you can keep trying, even if it's the exact same thing, you can still succeed. Like the past failures don't define that your future successes. You can still succeed even if you fail at the exact same thing. And that's something I'm trying to tell myself. Yeah.
That was a powerful statement. I thought that was really good.
Really good.
We're gonna end there. I'm actually gonna do a few like B-roll and photos real quick. So.